Today's video is brought to you by Spigen SGP, makers of the most badass screen shields on the market. What is going on, guys? Jonathan here with TLD with my review of the iPad mini, and no matter how you look at it, it is a miniature sized iPad. So first and foremost, that means it is rocking a smaller 7.9-inch display, and as a point of reference, here is how it looks sandwiched in between its two brothers. The bigger 9.7-inch 4th generation iPad, and to the left, the smaller 4-inch 5th generation iPod Touch. And as one more point of reference, here is how it looks caught between its two enemies. To the right, the 7-inch Nexus 7, and to the left, the 5.5-inch half phone, half tablet monster, the Galaxy Note 2. Now, as far as the display goes, unfortunately, it is not Retina, so that means it boasts a 1024 by 768 resolution, same as the iPad 1, same as the iPad 2, but it obviously does fall short of the current full-size Retina iPad, as well as the iPhone 5 and the 5th generation iPod Touch. Now, I will say the non-Retina resolution is less noticeable on the iPad mini's smaller screen as opposed to the bigger iPad 2, for example. But if you have been exposed to or really accustomed to Retina displays or just high resolution screens in general, then it definitely is noticeable and might be a drawback for those people. Now, as far as design goes, the iPad mini comes in two colors. The first of them being black and slate, which kind of has more of a brushed anodized aluminum look, real deep black matte with almost a hint of blue if you hold it up to the light. And you got black hardware, black buttons, and overall it just looks badass. Now, as far as the white and silver goes, it's definitely more classy and clean, and unlike the full-size iPad where we see a black Apple logo and black buttons, we see all silver hardware on this one. Beyond that, we do have the Lightning port, which isn't going to give you any added functionality, but it is smaller, has a cooler name, and allows you to plug in the cable any way you want. To the left and the right of that awesome little port, we have stereo speakers, and one complaint I did have is I wish they would have had the headphone jack on the bottom like we saw on the iPhone 5 and the iPod Touch instead of on the top like they currently do on the iPad mini. Now, as far as cameras go, on the front we have a 720p FaceTime HD camera, and on the back we have a 5 megapixel shooter that shoots at 1080p, and it actually shoots at much better quality than I thought it would. This was shot off the iPad mini, and if you are watching in HD, I'm sure you can agree it does look damn good. And if you listen closely, I think Melody is asking for a thumbs up. Now, in terms of performance, the iPad mini is rocking an A5 chip, which has gotten a lot of flack from people because it's an older processor, but in terms of actual gaming and app loaded and zippiness, it is more than adequate. In terms of sheer raw CPU power, the Nexus 7 is hands down quicker than the iPad mini, but in terms of actual GPU and graphics performance, the iPad mini actually outperforms the Nexus 7 by quite a bit. So I will be the first to point out and note the less than stellar display, but in terms of performance and processing power, the iPad mini is no slouch. Now, additionally, it also does feature Siri, which a lot of you guys have asked, and it runs it perfectly fine. I know you guys have seen tons and tons of demos on that, so I didn't want to run you guys through that and bore you with it. But if you really do want a Siri demo, let me know with a comment and I will make that happen. Other than that, in terms of battery life, which is also important, Apple claims to get around 10 hours of web surfing. From extensive testing and a lot of use, I got around 8 to 9, which is definitely not bad at all. And that is partly due to the bigger battery that we see on the iPad mini, and probably because the A5 processor isn't as power hungry. We're going to see great battery life on the iPad mini. Now, in terms of form factor, is it one-handable? Would you recommend it? It's definitely one-handable. It's a little wide for me to call the perfect form factor, just a little bit wide. I definitely do prefer the Nexus 7 in one hand. And as far as typing, I actually really enjoyed portrait mode on the iPad mini. For some reason, the form factor was a huge plus in that regards, and it just seemed to fit perfectly as far as typing on the iPad mini. Now, to sum everything up in terms of pros and cons, starting out with the pros, the build quality is fantastic. The app selection is second to none, and due to the fact that it is the same resolution as the iPad 2, all of those apps that were optimized for that work flawlessly on the iPad mini. Additionally, you have a great camera that shoots awesome video, and it's a little bit mixed for me because I normally think you look a little weird shooting video on a tablet, but I guess this is the iPad mini, so you will only look like half a jackass shooting video on this one. Now, as far as the cons go, this is definitely pricey for what it is. I really would have liked to see Apple price it around $249, maybe $279 the most, So there definitely is that Apple premium. And probably the biggest drawback, if you have been exposed to Retina displays or high resolution screens, like I said, you will notice a difference and it may be a deal breaker for you. Now, me personally, I actually could see myself using this as opposed to the full-size iPad, because between that and a laptop, I would take a laptop all day long. I do like the smaller form factor. The non-Retina really isn't a deal breaker for me, and I do like the fact that I can use this for iOS and then have the flexibility to go Android for my phone and kind of have the best of both worlds. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you did enjoy it and you are feeling like being awesome, make sure to go TLD style on that like button, and huge shout out to SGP for making this video possible. Now, for those of you guys who follow the channel, you know, recently I reviewed the Glass T by SGP and had nothing but good things to say about it. It's been about 4 weeks now, so not only has it been the best screen shield I've ever used, but it has now also withstood the test of time. It is a full-fledged piece of glass, and by instinct you would think that it would add bulk, but it's the complete opposite. I kid you not, you cannot even tell that it's there. There's no degradation as far as swiping or touch performance, and probably one of my favorite things is that it almost completely repels fingerprints. Now, in addition to that, probably the most important thing is you have the best possible screen protection on your shiny new toy. Now, as I wait for the Glass T, I am currently rocking the Ultra Crystal on my iPad mini, which isn't glass, so it's going to be cheaper and a more affordable option. It's not going to give you the glass protection of the Glass T, but it does retain the SGP quality. Most importantly, it's going to go on clear. You cannot tell it's there, and it's going to resist fingerprints and scratches. So I will have links to where you guys can pick these up and check out pricing down below. And if you happen not to be an Apple fan, they have pretty much every major Android device covered as well. If you guys also want to check out their full range of products and stay updated for upcoming ones like the Glass TR for the iPad mini, make sure to check out Spigen.com. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys later.